Good afternoon, everyone. Hope everyone is well and in good health. I want to share with you this afternoon on Thursday a thought which I think is fundamental to who we are as Jews. I'm not going to be speaking about COVID-19. I'm not going to be speaking and discussing about the coronavirus, which is every single day in the news. But there's something else that has been permeating some news media in recent weeks, and it's deeply troubling, and it should be deeply troubling to every human being, let alone every single Jew. There's a group of people in China called the Uighurs, and they're being oppressed by China at the moment. Beijing is being accused of imprisoning thousands and thousands of Uyghur people in re-education centers in China's western Xinjiang province. The Uyghurs have lived in this area for thousands of years and are being oppressed and denied the most basic human rights. They are predominantly a Muslim people and generally regarded as a Turkic people because they speak a language which is like Turkish. That's where their ancestors came from, which was in Central Asia. Now, many reports of the Uyghurs being held against their will in these centers are undergoing all sorts of restrictions, all sorts of suffering and oppression. China, of course, says they are baseless and we are just living in peace and harmony. But the reality is that last November, there were documents that were leaked and that these claims were verified. They confirmed that the camps were not just education centers, but they were forced ideological, behavioral re-education centers. Videos showed prisoners being bound up in the thousands and putting onto trains and being sent out of various areas of China. Kids in that area being disappeared, forced birth control. And yes, it's a political year. And yes, some of the Uyghurs don't accept that that area of China is in fact China, claiming that their people were there before the Chinese Han and Tang dynasties. But at the end of the day, a lot of the imagery that we're seeing in our media should shake us to the core because we've seen this all before. Over 30 times in the Torah, we are told, do not hate, do not oppress, do not cause harm to the stranger. We're told in Vayikra Kaf Dalet. Vayikra Yutet, chapter 19. Why? Because you were strangers in the land of Egypt. In a few weeks' time, we're going to read, you should love the stranger. Love those people that are oppressed because you too were oppressed in Egypt. The Ramban, Nachmanides, Moshe ben Nachman, who lived in Girona in Spain, says something absolutely striking. He says that the correct interpretation in my eyes is to lot tunuger. What does it mean not to afflict these people? Jewish people, you know better. You were slaves in the land of Egypt. You saw the way that you were oppressed by the Egyptians and the way I avenged you and took you out. And he says the words, I see the tears of those who are oppressed and have no one to comfort them. And that's why you don't afflict a widow and you don't afflict an orphan and you don't afflict the stranger, because I will hear their cries. And the Rambam is making 2 points over here. Number one, the powerlessness of someone who is a stranger who has no one to look after him, not surrounded by family and friends, not surrounded by people who are able to defend them. And the Torah comes and says, do not hurt these people. Protect them, because I also protect them, says Hashem. And secondly, the vulnerability of the stranger. He doesn't live in a secure place. They're alone throughout the Torah. Especially these people, Hashem is sensitive to their cries and the oppressed. It's concern for social justice. And Rabbi Sachs, I remember reading an essay many years ago, said words to the effect that to be a Jew is to be a stranger. It's our history. Abraham was commanded to leave his home, to leave his birthplace, to leave his father's house. He was told and promised your descendants will be strangers in a foreign land. Every year for 3,000 years now, we've been telling the Pesach story and remembering the bitter times that we went through, reenacting those bitter times with families across the world, in every country, in every single Jewish home. Because we need to make that part of our memory. You were slaves in Egypt for a reason, so that you understand suffering. My friends, evil is a reality that exists in this world. We are naive to think it does not exist. But when evil is left unchecked, when evil is left without being looked after, so to speak, to make sure it doesn't fester, that it can destroy humanity. And mankind needs to be alert to the existence of evil in others and understand it's up to them to uproot it. And just because the events across the pond in China seems so far away, is irrelevant. Where are the Jewish voices living this command for social justice? Where are the news outlets screaming this from the rooftops of the suffering of this people? Yes, we have a duty of remembrance called Zachor, to remember what our enemies did to us 70 years ago and years before with Amalek and all the other sufferings we went through. But this abiding imperative teaches us that we are each, wherever we are, the guarantors of each other's destiny. The world can no longer remain indifferent, because doing so led us down the road to the unspeakable, to the genocides in Rwanda, to the genocides in Darfur and in Syria and countless others, and today what's taking place in China. As Jews, when the moment comes, we are behooved to stand up, to speak out, to protest. The danger of silence, the consequences of being indifferent, I think behooves us as a nation and as mankind to the responsibility to protect. So rally our governments, rally the world around, and pledge charity, if possible, with World Jewish Relief and other such organizations to help these people in need. We went through a Mitzrayim as a people so that we should understand what it means when people are oppressed. Able to stand up against indifference and against hatred wherever we see it. Shabbat Shalom.